Guten Tag. Willkommen in unserem Seniorenheim. Maria Santos said warmly to the visiting German cultural delegation, her flawless Bavarian accent filling the Golden Years retirement community dining room with perfect German that stunned the elderly residents into amazed silence. Before the German visitors could respond, Maria switched effortlessly to Russian for a couple from Moscow, then to Mandarin for representatives from a Beijing cultural center, conducting sophisticated conversations about elderly care traditions, cultural differences, and international approaches to senior services with linguistic knowledge that seemed impossible for someone who spent her days preparing meals in a nursing home kitchen. She continued to the Russian visitors. To the Chinese delegation, demonstrating native-level fluency in multiple languages while maintaining her role as head cook with natural grace that left everyone wondering how a retirement home employee had acquired such extraordinary linguistic abilities. What the residents, visitors, and staff didn't know was that the woman graciously welcoming international guests while wearing a kitchen uniform was Sergeant First Class Maria Santos, retired, U.S. Army Military Intelligence, who had spent 18 years as a linguistic specialist intercepting and analyzing foreign communications before choosing elder care as her path to meaningful civilian service. Maria Santos, 46 years old, had been working as head cook at Golden Years Retirement Community in suburban San Antonio, Texas, for 3 years and 9 months, maintaining the same methodical attention to cultural detail and communication excellence that had characterized her 18-year career as a U.S. Army Military Intelligence linguistic specialist. Every morning at 5 a.m., she arrived wearing standard kitchen attire, carrying meal planning materials and dietary requirements documentation that she organized with systematic precision developed during years of intelligence work requiring absolute accuracy and attention to detail. The retirement community staff and residents knew Maria as a cook who could prepare authentic ethnic cuisines from dozens of different countries, who somehow understood the dietary preferences and cultural food traditions of residents from diverse backgrounds, and who had transformed the facility's dining program from basic institutional meals into culturally rich experiences that honored the heritage and preferences of elderly residents from many different countries. What people didn't notice was Maria's automatic linguistic assessment when new residents or visitors arrived at the facility, the way she recognized foreign accents and cultural backgrounds, the way she organized her kitchen operations with military efficiency that went beyond typical food service requirements. Her approach to meal preparation was systematic and culturally sophisticated in ways that suggested training beyond normal culinary education. Maria had chosen retirement home cooking specifically because it allowed her to use linguistic and cultural knowledge to serve elderly people in ways that honored their heritage and provided comfort. After 18 years of military intelligence work that had required her to intercept and analyze foreign communications for national security purposes, work that had been intellectually demanding but emotionally isolating, her Army career had begun in 2003 when she enlisted immediately after completing linguistics studies at the University of Texas, where she had demonstrated exceptional aptitude for language acquisition and cultural analysis. Military recruiters had identified her as an ideal candidate for military intelligence during a period when the Army was expanding linguistic capabilities for operations in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other regions requiring sophisticated communication analysis. Maria's training had been extensive and classified. Nearly 2 years of intensive instruction at the Defense Language Institute and other specialized facilities, learning everything from advanced linguistic analysis to cultural immersion, communication interception techniques, and intelligence analysis procedures designed for processing foreign language communications. She had achieved native-level proficiency in German, Russian, Korean, Arabic, Spanish, and Mandarin, languages identified as strategically important for U.S. military intelligence operations. Maria's assignments had included tours at NSA facilities, forward operating bases in Iraq and Afghanistan, and intelligence centers in South Korea and Germany, where she had conducted real-time analysis of intercepted communications, providing intelligence that supported military operations and strategic planning. She had earned recognition for linguistic excellence and analytical capabilities that had contributed to successful missions and improved military intelligence operations. Over multiple deployments and intelligence assignments, Maria had processed thousands of hours of foreign communications, translating not just words but cultural context, emotional subtleties, and implicit meanings that require deep understanding of how different cultures use language to convey information. But the psychological pressure of constantly analyzing communications related to threats, conflicts, and intelligence operations had eventually become emotionally exhausting. When Maria completed her military service, she had been offered positions with intelligence agencies, defense contractors, and private companies that would have used her linguistic expertise in lucrative consulting roles. But after years of using language skills for intelligence purposes, Maria had chosen elder care because it allowed her to use cultural and linguistic knowledge to provide comfort and connection for people rather than analyze threats and gather intelligence. Golden Years Retirement Community served approximately 150 elderly residents representing diverse cultural and ethnic backgrounds, including immigrants who had spent decades in America but still found comfort in hearing their native languages and enjoying familiar cultural traditions. Maria's linguistic abilities had enabled her to connect with residents in ways that enhanced their quality of life and provided cultural continuity during their elder years. During her 3 years at Golden Years, Maria had developed strong relationships with residents who appreciated her ability to communicate in their native languages, understand their cultural food preferences, and provide dining experiences that honor their heritage while meeting their nutritional and health requirements. Maria, said resident Emma Kowalski, a 78-year-old Polish immigrant, when you speak Polish with me during meals, it reminds me of my childhood and makes me feel less lonely. Mrs. Kowalski, your language and culture are important parts of who you are. I want you to feel comfortable and connected to your heritage. What Emma didn't realize was that Maria's linguistic abilities were the result of military training designed for intelligence operations, but that she had chosen to apply those skills to elder care because she found meaning in using language to provide comfort rather than gather information. The day when Maria's background was revealed began with a cultural exchange event that demonstrated how her linguistic skills had become essential for the retirement community's international outreach programs. Representatives from 6 different countries were visiting Golden Years as part of the study program examining American approaches to elder care and senior services. The international delegation included officials from Germany, Russia, China, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, and Mexico, representing countries with different cultural approaches to elderly care and family responsibilities. The retirement community had planned translation services, but Maria had volunteered to assist with cultural interpretation. When the delegation arrived, Maria immediately began conducting conversations in each visitor's native language with fluency and cultural sophistication that amazed both the international guests and the Golden Years staff. Guten Tag, Maria said to Dr. Klaus Weber from Munich, continuing with discussion of German elder care traditions that demonstrated not just linguistic ability, but deep cultural knowledge of European social systems. She greeted the Russian representatives, Dr. Elena Petrov and Administrator Viktor Volkov, engaging them in sophisticated conversation about Russian approaches to multigenerational family care. Maria's conversations with each delegation continued for 2 hours, covering complex topics including healthcare policies, cultural attitudes toward aging, family responsibilities, and social support systems with linguistic precision and cultural understanding that impressed even the visiting officials. Senora Santos, said Dr. Ana Gutierrez from the Mexican delegation, Su español es perfecto, y su comprensión de las tradiciones culturales es extraordinaria. Donde aprendió tanto sobre nuestras culturas? Maria found herself explaining her linguistic abilities without revealing the military intelligence context of her training. Estudia idiomas y culturas durante muchos años. Siempre me han interesado las diferencias culturales. But Dr. Weber, who had experience with international government programs, recognized that Maria's linguistic capabilities suggested training beyond typical cultural studies. Ms. Santos, your linguistic abilities are exceptional. You speak German with regional dialectical accuracy that indicates extensive immersion experience. Where did you acquire such sophisticated language training? The conversation continued with similar observations from other delegation members who recognized that Maria's linguistic skills demonstrated training and experience that went far beyond normal cultural education or casual language study. Dr. Petrov, who had worked with international intelligence exchanges during her career in Russian government service, was particularly intrigued by Maria's linguistic capabilities. Ms. Santos, your Russian includes vocabulary and cultural references that suggest professional level training. What is your background in international relations? Maria realized that her linguistic demonstration had revealed capabilities that raised questions about her background. The conversation that followed led to her acknowledging her military intelligence experience, though she remained careful about operational details that remained classified. I served in the U.S. Army for 18 years as a linguistic specialist. Military intelligence. I worked with foreign language analysis and cultural communication. The effect on both the international delegation and the Golden Year staff was immediate and profound. They realized they had been witnessing not just impressive language skills, but professional-level linguistic capabilities that had been developed for military intelligence purposes. Sergeant Santos, said Dar. Weber, using her military rank, military intelligence linguistic training is among the most demanding language education available. Why are you working in elder care? Maria explained her transition from military service, her desire to use linguistic skills for caring rather than intelligence gathering, and her satisfaction with providing cultural comfort for elderly residents who benefited from communication in their native languages. Dar. Weber. After 18 years of analyzing foreign communications for intelligence purposes, I wanted to use language skills to help people feel understood and care for rather than to gather information about them. The international delegation was impressed not just by Maria's linguistic abilities, but by her application of those skills to elder care in ways that enhance quality of life for elderly residents from diverse cultural backgrounds. Ms. Santos, said Dr. Petrov, your work demonstrates how linguistic skills can be used for humanitarian purposes that honor cultural diversity and provide emotional support for elderly people. The cultural exchange event had revealed Maria's background to her entire community, leading to opportunities she hadn't expected when she chose elder care as her post-military career. Maria, said Golden Years Administrator Robert Kim during a meeting the following week, your linguistic demonstration was extraordinary, and I've learned about your military intelligence background. Would you consider expanding your role to include cultural programming and international outreach for our facility? Maria was initially reluctant to take on responsibilities that reminded her of intelligence work, but the cultural programming position offered a compromise between using her expertise and maintaining the elder care focus that had drawn her to retirement community work. Mr. Kim, I chose cooking specifically to focus on direct care rather than complex communication work. Maria, this wouldn't be intelligence work. We need someone to develop cultural programs that honor the heritage of our diverse residents and coordinate with international organizations interested in learning about American elder care. Maria accepted the expanded role as cultural programs coordinator while continuing her kitchen responsibilities. The combination allowed her to use her military linguistic training to enhance elder care services while maintaining the direct resident care that provided meaning and satisfaction. Maria's cultural programs at Golden Years included heritage celebrations, international cuisine events, and cultural education sessions that honor the diverse backgrounds of elderly residents while building bridges between different cultural communities. The goal, Maria explained to staff during one of her cultural training sessions, is using linguistic and cultural knowledge to make residents feel valued and understood. When elderly people can communicate in their native languages and share their cultural traditions, it enhances their dignity and quality of life. Maria's work with elder care cultural programming led to Golden Years becoming a model facility for culturally responsive senior services, attracting visitors from around the world who wanted to learn about integrating cultural sensitivity with quality elder care. 6 months after the international delegation visit, Maria received recognition from both the National Association of Social Workers and the Military Intelligence Corps Association for developing elder care programs that applied linguistic skills to improve quality of life for elderly residents from diverse cultural backgrounds. But the recognition that meant the most to Maria came from residents who felt more comfortable and connected because of her linguistic abilities and cultural understanding. Maria, said resident Park Sung-ho, a 82-year-old Korean War veteran, When you speak Korean with me and prepare Korean food, it reminds me that my culture is valuable and that I'm understood. Mr. Park, your service to America and your Korean heritage are both important parts of who you are. I want you to feel proud of both. Maria realized that Mr. Park's comment reflected exactly the kind of meaningful work she had hoped to find after leaving military service, using her linguistic expertise to provide dignity and cultural connection for people who deserve to feel valued and understood during their elder years. A year after the cultural exchange event that revealed her background, Maria had become a recognized expert in culturally responsive elder care and was regularly invited to speak at senior services conferences and veterans organizations about applying military skills to civilian caregiving. Her presentation at the American Society on Aging conference focused on the principle that guided her approach to elder care. Linguistic and cultural skills developed for military purposes can be redirected to provide comfort, dignity, and connection for elderly people who have spent lifetimes contributing to their communities. 2 years after the international delegation visit, Maria continued working at Golden Years, while also serving as a consultant for elder care facilities throughout Texas that wanted to improve cultural responsiveness for their diverse resident populations. Her story was featured in military publications as an example of how intelligence skills could be applied to civilian caregiving, inspiring other military linguists to consider careers in healthcare and social services that use their expertise to benefit elderly and vulnerable populations. Today, Maria Santos continues working as head cook and cultural programs coordinator at Golden Years Retirement Community, while also consulting with elder care facilities throughout the Southwest. She still arrives every morning at 5 a.m., still prepares meals that honor residents' cultural preferences, and still treats elder care as a serious professional responsibility. But she also develops cultural programming that enhances quality of life for elderly residents, trains staff in cultural sensitivity approaches, and coordinates with international organizations interested in learning about American innovations in senior services. The retirement community dining room, where Maria conducts multilingual conversations, displays a small plaque that reads, "In appreciation of service that honors our residents' heritage and dignity." Maria requested that the recognition focus on resident care rather than individual achievement. Maria's story reminds us that military intelligence expertise doesn't diminish when applied to elder care. It enhances. That Army linguistic training can improve senior services just as effectively as it supports military operations. That the same communication skills used for intelligence analysis can be used to provide cultural comfort and dignity for elderly people who deserve to feel understood and valued. The next time you visit a retirement home, remember Maria Santos. Remember that the staff caring for elderly residents might have linguistic experience gained in contexts and assignments you can't imagine. Remember that they might have chosen elder care not because they lack other qualifications, but because they found meaningful ways to apply extraordinary skills to serve vulnerable populations with dignity and cultural sensitivity. Sometimes the most important communication happens not in intelligence operations or military assignments, but in retirement home dining rooms where former Army linguists choose to use their expertise to provide cultural comfort and connection for elderly people who have contributed lifetimes of service to their communities. Sometimes the greatest linguistic expertise belongs to people preparing meals rather than analyzing communications. People who've chosen to apply military training to elder care, ensuring that the skills developed for intelligence purposes can be used to enhance dignity and quality of life for elderly Americans from all cultural backgrounds. We need to recognize and appreciate the skilled communication professionals among us who've chosen to serve quietly, especially those whose previous service required analyzing foreign languages in complex situations, so that elderly people could feel comfortable communicating in familiar languages during their final years. Because true linguistic expertise doesn't disappear when military service ends. It just finds new applications. And sometimes the most valuable intelligence training involves not intercepting communications or analyzing threats, but using language skills to ensure that elderly people feel understood, valued, and culturally connected during the most vulnerable periods of their lives.